Hi folks, this is all the fruit, and on the junction of Vasilevsky Street and General Gurko Street in Sofia, there is this ancient mulberry tree. It's not the biggest mulberry tree in Sofia. Today I saw a much bigger one that's supposed to be 650 years old, but this one must also be quite big and ancient. Let's look at the tree first, because the tree is amazing enough, but the location for me is even crazier. At the base, this tree is already well over a meter thick. Look, compared to the standard pigeons, the rats of the air, look at that. How long is such a pigeon? About a foot long, 30 centimeters. So the tree at the base should be a meter long. Here also a standard Sofia trash bin made of concrete. However, this tree gets thicker further up. Usually you measure the trees at chest height, probably firstly because this is more comfortable, and secondly because buttresses and roots and such things don't come in here. But when you measure it at chest height, look at that. Since it's branching into two major branches, at chest height it's almost twice as thick. Look at it, down on the ground, max 1 meter. But at 1 meter 50 above ground, let's say at 1 meter 70 above ground, it's probably over 1 meter 50 wide. How old can this thing be? I would say definitely well over 100 years. I would have guessed like 150 or so. Sofia, well, it's not exceedingly dry, but it's quite high up at 550 meters above sea level, so the vegetation period is shorter than in warmer areas, so I would say 150 years. But that's the crazy thing. Look at those pipes here. Also at those piles of rounded rocks. What are those pipes here? They are ventilation pipes. And here, more ventilation pipes. In the background, more ventilation pipes. If you look around, no, well, there are street lights on this intersection, but just for the cars, because there are extensive underground passages for the pedestrians. And those underground structures must extend quite a lot because, well, for those underground passages you don't need those pipes. Well, we are here near the government district of Sofia, so there are extensive bunkers and tunnels. I don't even know if those pipes are from something public or from some secret communist stuff, or maybe they're even post-communist. Well, since I'm from Sofia, another funny story. Couple 200-300 meters away from here, near the mausoleum of Dimitrov, where they mummified our great leader, they found old Roman tunnels, and my father was a cave explorer back then. They asked him to explore them with this group, and when on the next day those young guys came there with all their equipment, the secret police was there and said, guys, the tunnels are prohibited for anybody except us. So they incorporated them in their secret underground structures, just like the metro number 2 in Moscow, which were only for the communists. And yeah, here there is an official part of this underground stuff, but what are those pipes for? I grew up near the government hospital where my grandfather worked, and there in the nearby park there were many such pipes for huge underground bunkers because the communist elite was supposed to hide here. So maybe those are for something like that. But okay, that's just an excursus. But if all this here has been tunneled extensively, what about this tree? I mean, all this was from where? From when? 60s, 50s, 70s? Cannot be older than the 50s. They think that it was probably from the 60s or maybe even the 70s. What about this tree? There are tunnels here. I guess if there are tunnels here, there were also tunnels under the street. There are pipes here. How did this tree survive? I mean, mulberries are incredibly resilient, but still, if you dig them out, they die. how did this thing survive the construction of all this underground stuff? I mean, the pipes are literally less than 2 meters away from the trunk. And if there are 4 pipes here, then there is some really extensive stuff down there. Maybe they have something to do with the metro construction. There was no metro here at my time, but maybe they built some here. But this looks older. Yeah, very strange. Definitely something was built here. And the construction is too modern. As far as I remember, there are also Roman remnants somewhere down there in this underground. But we are talking about modern construction. This modern communist construction must be newer, younger than this tree. So how did this tree survive here? Well, let's taste the fruits. I mean, most of those trees were planted more for silk production, so the leaves were the important part, not the fruits. But this is a good one. A white variety of the white mulberry, Morus alba. Very soft, very ripe, very sweet. See, very juicy, which is not at all a given for those fruits. They have one thing that's typical for almost all white fruited varieties of the white mulberry. They have no sourness, so it's a little bit boring. They are pretty sweet, but without any sourness. Something is missing, but being that juicy and that sweet, actually compensating for that. Look at that, a couple of the branches are loaded. Not all of them, just a couple selected branches. But I imagine something like that. You know, Bulgarians, we have a soft spot. Those fruits also have a soft spot. Oh, they are made completely of soft spots. Very juicy. I ate a lot of mulberries recently, and none was even remotely that juicy. Look at that. It's running down my fingers and I didn't even squeeze them. You know what I imagine? Maybe when they were building everything here, the whole tree was hanging like this. See, now almost all the branches have no fruit at all. But the couple branches here have lots of fruits. If the whole tree was like this, the architects or the workers might have said, it is a sin to destroy such an old tree that's fruiting like this with such good fruits. We'll build around it. Germans would never do this. Germans would bulldoze the trees. Even last year I was talking with the construction site where they had ancient oaks. They wanted to build a hospital there, and they said, I asked them, can't we save a couple of the ancient oaks? They said, yeah, what? Like we built half of an ER, half of an emergency room just to save an oak? You built a hospital, you built a hospital. Here in Bulgaria, they might have said the fruits of this thing are so great and the tree is so old, it would be a sin to destroy it. Sin in communist times, that was already a dangerous word to say. Could have sent you to the gulag, or at least could have had you fired from your job if you said something like a sin. But I guess maybe the fruit saved this tree, because it's the only old tree around here. Everything else was planted, I would say, after they did all the digging. See, all the trees here are just a couple decades old. Even those big platanos trees, they can be like 50, 60 years old. Everybody was planted after the construction, but not this tree. This must be well over 100 years old. Tell me, folks, why do you think this tree survived the whole area here being dug up and filled with giant tunnels and giant ventilation shafts everywhere? What do you think about those incredibly sweet and juicy mulberries? Oh, I want more. And the pigeons also want more. Tell me, I think this tree is really a great discovery. Well, for so many different reasons. Tell me your opinion on it. And apart from that, don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe.